There's no red states, there's no blue states, there's just the United States. No black, no white, just American.
I don't even have to ridicule him, he does it himself. So an election propaganda ad came out from Kamala Harris that also involves some points why you should vote for her, including abortion rights and LGBT rights, but also heavily relies on propaganda techniques, namely calling Republicans weird. This has triggered Ben, who had a low-quality response video. By low-quality I mean... So in the last video I covered from him, I could stop at almost every 10 seconds to explain logical fallacies and other propaganda techniques he tried to use to confuse people. And it was well structured and well thought out. It didn't have any good arguments, but it could influence people who didn't pay attention to it. This video, on the other hand, is... He tried his best in the first minute of this video, then it's just a complete emotional breakdown. So let's get into it.
Kamala Harris's campaign is built around this alternative moral structure in which we are supposed to be not only apathetic, but somewhat disdainful of religion, Christianity, traditional family. Like, that is real about Kamala Harris.
Yeah, we have to build up a straw man. Kamala is anti-religion and anti-traditional family. Like me, I eat bacon, so I must be anti-Semitic. I also drink whiskey or just alcohol in general, so I also must be an Islamophobe. Kamala doesn't want to execute gay people for having sex, so she must be anti-Christian. Also, gay people are not advocating for gay rights or the right for equal marriage. What they want is actually to stop straight people from marrying and having a traditional family.
Again, forget about the cat lady, not cat lady, kind of snarky nonsense. The only thing that matters on an issue level is the fact that Kamala Harris actually identifies with one side of this particular political divide.
And will you also explain why this alternative moral structure is bad, or are you hoping that people will confuse the words alternative and bad?
And that does have major ramifications for the future of a society. And let's face it, that's what we would normally call weird. Weird just means non-central. Okay, typically weird just means an outlier, like a statistical outlier. It used to be, in a traditional society, you have traditional families, traditional marriage, and that was kind of the center of society. And then, of course, you had people who lived alternative lifestyles and made alternative choices and all the rest. And they were, on the margins, accepted within the society, but on the margins of the society. What the left has done is they've exploded the norm in favor of the margins. And that's something Kamala Harris has done.
Cambridge Dictionary defines ramification as the possible result of an action. Cool, so what are these ramifications? Because Ben doesn't really highlight any negative consequences, just whines and uses emotionally suggestive language without making a solid argument. Also, why is it necessarily wrong to depart from what is considered normal? It was normal to dig to a corpse, then walk over to the maternity ward and deliver a baby. Until this guy came up with the radical idea to just wash your hands.
And again, she also happens to be kind of weird. Here she was on RuPaul's Drag Race last week. I mean, let's be a little real about this. Kamala Harris would be much more comfortable hanging out with the cast of The Last Supper on the sign at the Olympics than she would in like a traditional Baptist church in Georgia.
Yeah, the parody of The Last Supper involving famous Christian figures like Dionysus. I know his statement might be factually incorrect, but please consider his lived experience and his feelings. Also, we will not need these for this video.
Here is Kamala Harris.
Hi everyone, it's Kamala Harris. Each day we are seeing our rights and freedoms under attack, including the right of everyone to be who they are, love who they love, openly and with pride. So as we fight back against these attacks, let's all remember, no one is alone. We are all in this together, and your vote is your power. So please make sure your voice is heard this November and register to vote at vote.gov.
Can I get an amen?
Don't worry, JD is the weird one. There's all the cast of RuPaul's Drag Race saying amen to that. Don't worry, JD Vance is the weird one. He's clearly the weird one.
I rewatched this segment 5 times and I don't really know what his point is. I guess Kamala is weird because she wants people to freely express themselves. That's weird. Also, his arguments lasted about 2 minutes, and from now on he will be acting like a kindergartner, parrotting, "No, I'm not weird, you are weird." We reached the peak of political discussion, it's only downhill from here. I also love that we can look at the most stereotypically gay person they could find and a transgender person who are somehow more masculine than Ben, while we are listening to him whimpering that he is not weird, it's Kamala who is weird.
By the way, yesterday, a video was released, Drag Queens for Kamala. So here we go.
She can get bills passed in Congress that'll protect me
That's a
and
dude.
you.
Black, white, Latino,
Another
Asian,
dude.
or LGBTQ.
She can get this country back to where we can
An
stand
actual biological woman.
tall.
You can't even hear him through the music. I mean, he makes what, like 100k a month? Dude, just hire an editor. There is no sound argument. He relies only on trying to present the other side in a negative way. Meanwhile, he is whimpering like a soy boy. That's a dude. Yeah, 100% dude. We are not weird. You are weird. While 3 other people talk over him. Or sing. Who also somehow have way more confidence than Ben.
Keeping her safe from harm without building a wall. 'Cause she's a woman. Now for you, oh,
Singing about being women. These are two men and a woman singing about being women.
she's
Don't worry.
a woman.
JD Vance is weird, guys. Super weird.
Kamala.
Renormalizing the marginal. That's the basic idea of the Kamala Harris campaign.
So, will he finally explain why is it bad to renormalize the marginal?
But she's not just weird that way, as it turns out. I mean, so first of all, again, this is longstanding Kamala Harris policy. It's just last year that she was gallivanting around in the White House with other members of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Phenomenon. You know it.
Indeed, I
You
do.
know it.
That is a very large dude with a mustache walking around in a dress at the White House. Don't worry, guys. JD Vance is the weird one. You see why they keep saying JD Vance is weird? They have to. Because JD Vance is the VP candidate. Let's be real about this. VP candidates rarely make a very big difference. Donald Trump is the Republican candidate. You know who's weird? Kamala Harris. She's weird.
Quick update for Ben. So, this is Kamala Harris, not this one. Can you please finally explain why is she weird? Or are you going to just repeat over and over again that she is?
Not only is she weird, she is radical. She's a deeply radical person. Her entire campaign is now being run along the same lines, not as Barack Obama's 2008 campaign, which is the one everybody's all enthusiastic about. We're going to unite America, right? There's no red states, there's no blue states, there's just the United States. No black, no white, just American.
I don't even have to ridicule him, he does it himself. Also, now you know that Obama is bad. Again, not because of any reason or sound argument, but because of...
Not that campaign, the 2012 campaign, where Barack Obama decided to divvy, slice, and dice up the American population into various intersectional groups, and then try to drive out the vote with each one of those intersectional groups.
Yeah, different people have different interests. A student, a worker, or a retired person will want different policies. Why is it bad?
Again, there is something weird about dividing the American population by race, ethnicity, gender. That's exactly what the Kamala Harris campaign is doing. So they've now rolled out a series of Zoom calls that are specifically designed by intersectional characteristic. So according to Reuters, more than 160,000 people joined the White Women for Kamala Harris Zoom call. This was, I'm not even kidding you, called, euphemistically, Karens for Kamala. Because, of course, it's totally fine to label white women Karens. You just can't label them cat ladies if you're JD Vance.
Why are black people allowed to say the N-word, but I can't call them by any racial slurs? Weird. Also, I should probably stop mimicking his voice because I can't really do it.
Right, that's the way that this works. You're allowed to call them Karens, as in like upper-class white ladies who really ought to be apologetic for, their race and their sex. But that's what they were doing on the Zoom call. So on the Zoom call, they were legitimately apologizing for who they were while pushing Kamala Harris.
Cool. Will you show us the clip where she's apologizing for being white?
Which, if this makes you feel better, ladies, I got to tell you, I think there's something deeper going on that's more of a problem. Here was Ariel Fodor, a member of White Women for Kamala. Again, it's so weird. Can you imagine white men for Trump?
Honestly, I can't.
Like, that's such a weird thing. White women for Trump. Like, Why would you divide the American people this way? But this is precisely what they're doing because, again, the 2012 Barack Obama theory of politics was cobbled together a bunch of upper-class white ladies and a bunch of intersectional minorities, and that will be your coalition. And that will be the new Democratic coalition. Not a class-based coalition, not a working-class coalition. Abandon all those people. You need white ladies for Kamala.
And did they not let brown women join, or what is the problem?
Here's Ariel Fodor saying some pretty wild things on this white women for Harris phone call.
We are here because, as if you were here earlier, you've heard BIPOC women have tapped us in as white women to step up, listen, and get involved this election season. This is a really important time, and we all need to use our voices and influence for the greater good. No matter who you are all influencers in some way. So tonight, I'm going to share some do's and don'ts for getting involved in politics online and navigating the toxicity that comes with it. And spoiler alert, as much as the toxicity can come from the outside, it can come from us too. So first, don't isolate yourself. We can do our best work when we're in community together like we are tonight, because the toxic feels smaller when we support each other. But don't make it about yourself. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on. So do learn from and amplify the voices of those who have been historically marginalized, and use the privilege you have in order to push for systemic change.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's weird. I'm sorry, it's weird. Not that she's a white lady who's in favor of Kamala Harris. Sure, it's that she's being weird. I'm sorry, it's weird to say that you have to use your white privilege to you can't correct a BIPOC woman. You can't correct somebody who's of a race that has more melanin in their skin. Stop with your corrections. You're being right all the time. Put on your listening ears, white ladies. You have to use your privilege to help the poor, impoverished black people. Like, it's so weird. I'm sorry, that's weird. It is, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's your fault. Stop being weird.
Wow. A white woman tells others not to be woke, not to treat this as just performative activism, and instead of virtue signaling, just listen to people they are trying to help. That's weird. Also, where does she apologize for being white? So, not a single argument why you shouldn't vote Democrat or why you should vote Republican. I mean, he says something along the lines of, hey, look, this dude is wearing a dress. Yeah, and look, this woman is wearing trousers. I mean, it's kind of subjective, but in my personal opinion, wearing clothes is less weird than having some chastity fetish roleplay with your son. You know, reading a book is grooming, but involving your son in your sexual life is traditional family values, I guess. Also, I don't really understand why Ben is so obsessed with transgender people, but anyway, I like to focus on fallacies and other propaganda techniques, but there isn't any in this video. He's just repeating weird over and over again without making any points. Anyway, thanks for watching, more propaganda in my last video, and a special thanks to my Patreons Jay Brandon and Arda Bond for supporting my channel.